Paws Up Podcast, episode 19. We're back, just one episode away from episode 20. You know, we won't be spoiling too much, but maybe the biggest guest we've had to date will be joining us on episode 20. You know, when we talk about pro athletes, I think that's what we'll leave it at, Jake. Jake, what's up? Talking all sports today, even giving a shout out to tennis towards the end. Who deserved it. But
super exciting. Nice to have you back, Kevin. We missed you in episode 18.
Yeah, man. Good job on the
Grayson James.
Yeah, it was great. I was able to watch some of it or most of it, to be honest with you. And Grayson was great. And you know, shout out to you and Johnny for pinch hosting, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
In this case, but
we have a great reliever in Jonathan Mayer.
He'll be back next episode. That's the only guest we're leaking right now.
Okay, yeah.
How's everything, Jake? We're ready to talk all FIU athletics today.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to talk about. A lot of course, baseball and softball in the midst of their seasons, and of course, but you know, sports like basketball and football, there's always some news to talk about, and we have some awesome news from some of the other sports that we have on campus that don't always get the love as far as media coverage, but beach volleyball and tennis, some great stories there that we'll talk about later.
Yep. As always, subscribe to the YouTube, and you know, I think we've been a little bit inconsistent when it comes to posting on audio, but we're back doing that for sure. That's going to get posted every other day, I think, is how we'll do this. So the day after the podcast is released, we live stream the podcast will be released via basically anywhere you could listen: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I don't even know where else you could listen to a podcast besides this.
That's right. All the amazing outlets we now have with the show. We have SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
Yeah, so all those spots you could just simply, you know, leave a nice little 5-star rating. You could subscribe, you could follow, and you know, share the podcast. We're trying to grow as much as we can. Obviously, episode 20 is coming up next, so we're almost.
That's a big milestone, Kevin. I can hardly believe it. Episode,
it's crazy.
20.
You know, we started this, I would say, maybe that last game of the football season.
Yeah,
there. Now we are almost at season 2 of the podcast.
Yeah,
fall.
And it's crazy to think that 5 episodes after episode 20, it'll be 25. It'll be a quarter of 100 episodes in this long journey.
And
it's
I
been
guess
super fun.
Kind of mention some of the programming notes, because obviously, with before we even get started, I think it's fair to mention and be brutally honest, not really brutal, but with FIU sports kind of winding down, basically all we have left right now, Jake, is baseball and softball.
Yeah.
And content in terms of that is basically going to be out. We could probably just do a couple season reviews, and
stories are hard to come by, but the guests are plentiful. So
and that's where we plan on going. So you guys are going to be having a lot of guest appearances on the podcast. A lot of people joining positive podcast history, as Jake says, and then obviously, I think what we've been discussing is making it 2 a week. And we want to get your thoughts on that. How would you guys feel about a podcast 2 a week? Tuesday, Thursday is how we think would be the best way to go today. Obviously, Wednesday, a little bit of a last minute change just due to the Heat and the Panthers in the playoffs.
Yeah, but what games those were? I mean, come on.
Those are some
Panthers knock out the Leafs, and the Heat just barely.
Yeah.
If it weren't for the refs and the fact that Butler was hurt, I mean, come on, they smoked.
I think they would have won. Yeah. So I think we'll start with let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts? Tuesday, Thursday,
and let us know what guests you want to see on the show, because we will listen and we will try to make that happen.
We have a list, and we would love to add on to that.
We're checking it twice.
And we're gonna find out if they're naughty or nice, I guess is how we can say it. But anyways, FIU baseball, they head up to Boca Raton. They get swept by FAU. I kind of put out a mini recap of this series. If you guys want to read it, go ahead on Lemon City Live. They're currently playing Bethune-Cookman, the Wildcats, and I think they're winning 7-0. So handling business as they should against a team in the Wildcats. FIU currently, and you could fact check me on this, I think they're 16-27. A win tonight against the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats would officially have them with a better record than the 2022 season, which was 16-34.
Yeah.
So already, I mean, it's one more win, but Rich Witten making strides with the FIU Panthers. And in what was considered a bridge year will be a year of improvement where the offense just looks better. The pitching sometimes looks good.
Yeah.
Still needs its work. Through I think transfer portal is going to be big for this team, especially to see what they bring into the recruitment class. Obviously, the need is pitching right now, and obviously
Yeah.
you want to find some outfielders because not only is Alex Sanchez leaving and probably going to the major leagues, in this case minor league baseball, but I mean Ryan Guida's I believe gone next year. Who's your DH? Adrian Figueroa still has a couple years left. Mikey Rosario still a couple years left. So you really do have to start looking for the recruits. But looking at FAU, that series, man, was it stressful, Jake. I mean,
it was stressful and it was disappointing for many reasons, but I think the biggest reason that we should mention was the offense, or should I say lack of offense at times, right?
Not even that, Jake. Just the pitching. The pitching was disappointing from start to finish.
Yeah.
When you give up 10 runs and then you give up 13 in another game, I mean, come on, man. I mean,
here's the craziest thing, though. Here's the craziest thing. In all 3 games of the FAU series, the Panthers only scored 8 runs total through all 3 games.
And they averaged 7 per game.
And if you compare that to how many runs they scored against I would say, much better team in the UTSA Roadrunners in the series before, they scored 22 runs, and they still lost 2 of 3. But to see the offense fall as flat as it did against FAU, like the fact that on the Sunday game they lost by a score of 10-1, they only scored 1 run that game. That's the only time this season that they've only scored a single run. They haven't been shut out once yet this season, but that's the first time this season that they've only put up 1 run in a game, which is crazy, which is insane.
Yeah, and I guess if we look at positives of the series, Alex Sanchez still has his on-base streak going. Yeah. Currently still has it. I think it's at 26 right now, if I'm correct. Ryan Guida kept being productive. The guys kept going. And Jake, you probably have the box scores up with you. And maybe if you could share a screen so the fans could see the box scores we're looking at there. But when you look at it, I mean, FIU was so impatient in this series as a whole. They were just swinging and they were striking out. I don't know if it was swing and miss. Broadcast isn't the greatest to watch when they're away games for FIU, but man, they were swinging and missing. They were striking out. FAU's pitching looked just completely dominant.
Yeah, absolutely. And combine the FIU's lackluster pitching with FAU's good pitching from the start. There was something that we haven't seen that often with FIU. Usually, when FIU ends up losing a game, they keep it close for a while, right? But when they hit the 7th, 8th, 9th innings, the relievers kind of let the team down. But the FAU series was different because starting off with the Friday game, in the first 3 innings alone, Florida Atlantic put up 11 runs in the first 3 innings alone, right? FIU didn't put anything. So FIU was down in a big deficit early. Saturday, they kept it close. But then Sunday, again, in the first 3 innings, they gave up 5 runs, and they didn't score any themselves. So 2 out of 3 of those games, they were down massive deficits early that they had to somehow crawl back out of, and they couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't really think there's much of an issue when it comes to the offense.
Yeah,
we've discussed this. We've kind of put our foot down, saying we like what the offense has done. Not only a couple series, a couple games, but just throughout the season as a whole. I think the issue right now is just the pitching and the amount of runs that they give up. Although I will say FAU's pitching looked great that series.
Yeah,
just looking at box scores, those guys look great. There's no other way to say it. So, I mean, kudos to them. They're going to leave Conference USA, I believe, as well. I think all of FAU's leaving Conference USA, and they're going to go, I think, to the
AAC, the American Athletic Conference.
Never heard of it. Not going to lie to you.
That's where UCF. When UCF was really big in football, they had the undefeated season. That's the conference. That's
where they are. So it's UCF, USF.
Well, UCF is moving to the Big 12, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
which is a massive transfer.
That's
UCF
huge.
And horrible.
Oh my god!
I was about to sneeze, but it didn't happen. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, UCF and I believe Houston, which is also part of the AAC, they're moving to the Big 12. So that's why the AAC had to bring in so many new teams, and they mainly got their new teams from Conference USA.
All right. So,
but in any event, pitching for FAU was dynamite, and FIU's offense was like the slowest they've been all season, and they still put up 8 runs through it all. Which, I mean, if you compare this to some of the series sweeps for FIU last season, they would get shut out most of the time, only put up 1 run or 2. So we've said it all year. The offense for this team is phenomenal, right? The offense is phenomenal. We had Jonathan Mayer on the show once, and he gave FAU's offense from an F to A grade, like an A+. It's great.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's just
like I'll give you an example. The day you guys did the Grayson James podcast, I was at enemy territory in Coral Gables watching the Canes face off against FAU. Man, was that a game. I mean, although I think the Canes won by a pretty wide margin towards the end, FAU's offense was lighting it up. And, it was a bullpen game for the Canes. But, when you have Nolan Shanwell putting up walks, giving you RBIs, basically doing it from top to bottom of the lineup, even the bottom guys of that lineup in the FAU, they're pretty good. I mean, if you're hitting 2-something in college baseball, you kind of worry about the player's offensive potential, but they're still pretty good. And I don't know if
I believe they lost 12-9 in that game that you went to in Coral Gables.
Yeah, it was something like that. But just kind of to put a finale on this FAU series, kind of look ahead, because there's not many series left. So I think what we can do, Jake, is kind of just look at everything left. I mean, 2 games against Miami, you have Charlotte. I guess if you want to talk a little bit about the Bethune-Cookman game now, and then Western Kentucky, which is the series. I'll be at 2 games. I don't know if you'll be at 1 or 2, but anyways, just to put just to wrap up FAU. FIU ends up, I think, just winning 1 game out of the series of this whole series this year.
I think FAU did they take 2 out of 3 against FAU earlier? Let me double check.
No,
because this was the second series. So FIU only got 1 win against the Owls,
and that was a mercy rule win.
That was cool, but
that was there. That was cool.
That doesn't translate well when it goes up against the fact that they lost that many games to FAU. It's cool because it's something you rarely ever see. But
I think looking a little bit,
I would still take a series win over that.
Yeah, let's look a little bit back, just one series, because we didn't talk about this one, the UTSA series.
Okay.
I was on the call with Johnny for the second game. We had to cut it short because of football.
Yeah.
Well, the 15 minutes of football spring showcase, but just looking at that game 1, I don't know if you're looking at these scores, Jake, but 22-8, not good. And then set game 2, which was postponed midway through. What a game!
It was crazy. I was at that game as well, because that was right before the spring showcase. And
you were.
Obviously, when the spring showcase got basically canceled due to the weather, so did the baseball game.
And it started up early. Ruben Carpio, and I'm going to look at the box score because Ruben Carpio, and we have to talk about him because he's been one hell of a player so far for FIU. Just looking at the box score, let's look at here. Ruben Carpio, he had 5 RBIs in this game. Just shows how good he is. He went 4 for 5 with 5 RBIs, only struck out once. And that just shows how good he was, not only in that game, but how good he's been thus far for FIU this year. Someone who definitely you have to keep an eye out on for next season. Kind of came in late into the season, or was incorporated late into the season. But then looking at that final game, they win 6-1. Really, everything clicked for FIU. So, and UTSA, again, the number 22 ranked UTSA Roadrunners. So, just your quick thoughts on the series, and then we can move on to kind of talk about the fun that awaits for.
Granted, the pitching. FIU's pitching had a big task for them, right? They're taking on one of the best teams, probably the best team in Conference USA, one of the best teams in the nation, and they didn't deliver. And they set the scene in the first game, giving up 22 runs, which was bad enough. The offense, I think, did as much as they could. 8 runs, usually in a baseball game, 8 runs will certainly probably get you the win, but not against this team. And then the second game wasn't much better. It was close, which was great, but still, giving up 9 runs in a game is just rough. It was back to back though early on. FIU scored first, UTSA retaliated, FIU answered. It was a sort of back and forth affair, but ultimately the Roadrunners came away with the win. thanks to the three runs in the 6th inning. And thankfully, it was nice to see FIU make some adjustments and the pitching actually hold off UTSA for the final game on Sunday to at least salvage one win in the series. But when you look at the numbers, they gave up, and I want to get my math right, they gave up 32 runs against UTSA, 32 runs total. And after that, they gave up, let me get my math right, 31 runs against FAU. So that's 60, what am I looking at? 63, 64 runs in 6 games of play? That's utterly ridiculous. And obviously it's unacceptable to give up 63 or 64 runs in just 6 games of work against conference opponents. And again, can't blame the offense because the offense for the most part did their job. But when these opposing teams can just do pretty much whatever they want to do on offense, because not just the starting pitchers couldn't keep up with the offense, neither could the relievers, and then the closers couldn't do it either. So it's unfortunately this has been a story that has plagued FIU for most of the season. The offense has been great, but the best offense in the world can't stop probably the worst pitching rotation in the conference. Okay.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's just the way it's been. And if the pitching rotation can't get their act together, granted, they're doing really good against Bethune-Cookman right now, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Bethune-Cookman, of course, FCS, they're Division II, and FIU has historically done great against Bethune-Cookman. All right. But when you take on, but if you look at the rest of the upcoming schedule, you have Western Kentucky, 25-20 record, a very solid team, especially.
And they weren't supposed to be this good, by the way. They were supposed to be around FIU.
No. Yeah, you're right. But still, they have put in the work. And against FAU, by the way, they swept FAU. Western Kentucky swept FAU this season. Okay.
Yeah, and FAU, Western Kentucky was, as I mentioned, and I was talking to Johnny today off, just before the show, and we were talking about, how Western Kentucky is supposed to be playing, and they're supposed to be just as good as FIU, or just, I guess, as bad in this case as FIU, but they're playing some good baseball, and everything seems to be clicking for them. I don't know if, we're going to talk more about those series, but very quickly, just to give you guys an update on the Bethune-Cookman game. Currently 7-2 in the bottom of the 8th with 1 out. Jonathan Girardi, Alex Sanchez, Ryan Guida, and Christian Paladar, all with a multi-hit game. RBIs come from Christian Paladar and Roland Quevedo. Basically, almost everyone in the lineup has walked, except you're pretty much the heart of the lineup there. But, hey, FIU looking good. Shout out to Joel Pinero, who came back from Tommy John, made his second appearance today. Went 2 innings, struck out 3, didn't give up. I don't think he gave up a run. No, he did not. Yeah. Didn't give up a run. Only gave up. No, they didn't even give up a hitless outing for no, I lied. 2 hits for Pinero. And then Richie Pena, who technically is a starter, came in 4 innings. Only gave up a hit. Struck out 3. Really didn't give up a run. And then Lampton came in, gave up 2 runs, 2 earned, 3 hits, 2 strikeouts. And now Kevin Martin's in the game trying to, I guess you could say, shut this down and hopefully not blow a lead.
Yeah.
So,
and
anything you want to comment on that, and then we'll move on to talk about. I guess we already kind of touched on the WKG.
Yeah,
WKG
Western
series.
Kentucky, and again, they've won. I believe they won 6 of their last 7, including a 3-game sweep against. Let me make sure I get it here. They just swept after the sweep against FAU. They lost to Austin Peay, then they swept Charlotte, who FIU will play right after Western Kentucky. So it's worth actually they're going to play the University of Miami in between Western Kentucky and then Charlotte. Okay, and obviously we're going to be there. We're going to root for FIU, of course, and we're going to hope that they can take at least one game against the Canes, who have been sort of up and down. They're not ranked at the moment, if I'm not mistaken, and
they aren't. I think they are though, Jim. They're not. I thought they were.
They've been ranked for pretty much the majority of the season, but they have had some struggles as of late. But yeah, Honestly, last thing I'll say on the Western Kentucky series, and I'm going to be dead honest, I think FIU is going to be lucky if they win one, right? Granted, it's at home.
I was talking, and I know Johnny's an optimist, but he's probably listening. He's probably our one listener right now. And I will
Johnny,
say,
well, keep in mind that the viewership thing doesn't count the good Twitter folks who are watching this on the Twitter account. So, but anyway, Johnny is first of all, hey Johnny, yeah, we love you, Johnny. But by God, let's just be real here for a second. Just if you look at the pitching and the offense as of late, it's been one of the worst it's been the entire year. And when you take on a team such as Western Kentucky that is sort of in a similar boat to FIU, their offense is absolutely spectacular. They put up 14 runs in their latest win against Charlotte. I think it's going to be rough for FIU. Could they win the series? I wouldn't be surprised, but I would predict they take one game against the Hilltoppers.
I mean, at this point, you take any win you could get, especially if they win tonight against Bethune-Cookman. But really quickly, kind of just to start previewing the Canes series. So they play Presbyterian for this weekend. But just looking back, they beat Louisville 2 out of 3, winning game 1 6-5. They get shut out 11-0 in game 2. They win 10-7 in game 3. They beat FAU 12-9. They had to postpone a game in the Georgia Tech series. So I mean, I lie. They won 2 out of 3, but it was a 4-game set. So they had to postpone one. They beat Bethune-Cookman. They lost to FAU, just going even further back. So I mean, look, I think we could kind of compare this and say that UM and FIU do have some comparisons where the top of the lineup for both teams is probably the best you'll get.
It's A1. It's phenomenal.
Exactly. I mean, just off the top of my head, Zach Levinson, Blake, how do you say his last name? Freshman, full freshman.
Oh, let me pull up
Blake Sear.
Something along those lines, yes.
Something along those lines. But going on, Yondi Morales, you have him. I think I mentioned Zach Levinson. I mean, that top of the Canes lineup is so good.
It's ridiculous. We already know this. It's major league level, and a lot of those Canes players are going to get drafted. But at the same time, we were there. We saw how close the FIU got to knocking off the Canes in Coral Gables. And it's kind of funny. It feels like in a rivalry. This has become a rivalry in baseball, especially this season because of how close the games are. I think that FIU gets it done against the Canes in their upcoming matchup on Wednesday, solely because
they'll get it done once, man. They'll get it done in one of these two. I just feel. I mean, they're that close to doing it. I mean, the other day when I was with Johnny, this may have been when you came before you came. I was like, you saw the video of the homer because I told him get a video of this because this is pretty historic. And it was the video of the Zach Levinson bomb is what he showed me.
Oh no!
And he deleted the video right away.
Oh,
but just kind of
low-key, I kind of wish he kept it though. It would have been funny to see my reaction because as soon as I heard the crack of the bat, I just knew
it wasn't even that. It was like as soon as I saw the ball in the air, I'm like,
as soon as I heard the crack, my heart dropped, and I know your heart dropped too because you were right next to me on the call.
Yeah,
I was in utter disbelief, but I had to keep talking because I was commentating the game. So I was like, okay, it's deep, it's gone. I had like no emotion left.
We didn't even do any post-game show.
No, we couldn't believe what we had just saw, right? Because in my head, I mentally had what I was gonna say ready for when they got the strikeout. It'd been like history for the first time in 5 years. FIU beat the Canes in baseball.
It could happen.
It could happen. And at this point, I'm gonna be more annoyed than anything if they can't get it done on Wednesday, right?
Not even that. I mean, they still have 2 more chances, Jake.
They have 2 chances, right?
And you could even make the case that their chance will probably be the highest in the last game when they're at home. Although the Canes do bring their peeps, you got to keep in mind that FIU is probably more accustomed to that stadium, and it's just going to be a lot better for them, is how I see it.
Maybe,
but
not to mention that if something that we saw happen a couple times at the Canes game was Miami challenging a ruling on the field because their field happens to have a like 20,000 cameras at all times, something that the FIU baseball stadium doesn't have. And if I'm not mistaken, there were a couple of calls. There was at least 1 or 2 calls that were reversed in favor of Miami in that first game at Coral Gables. But anyway, we'll be there, and we hope that FIU can get it done. This has become a very fun rivalry this year. Usually for the last couple of years, it's been blowout after blowout when we take on Miami. But to see the games this close, granted, we haven't won, but we've been super competitive. And I think they have to take one. And
yeah,
we're hoping that it's this Wednesday. I hope that they win the last 2 and they split the series.
That would be nice.
Awesome.
That would be great. Awesome. Especially with the Canes, who are, I think they're on Omaha watch. So you could, especially maybe they start bringing in their lower, not the top tier pitching we know the Canes could have. So if that's the case, I mean, hell, why doesn't FIU take advantage here and get themselves a couple nice looking wins?
Yeah, they better.
Year? But to look at the Canes roster here quickly, CJ Kafis probably going in the draft. Mm-hmm. Blake Sear, we'll just say that for now. Probably going to go in the draft soon once he's draft eligible. Zach Levinson, another guy who's probably going to go in the draft. Brian Walters, right?
Baseball is probably the Canes baseball is going to have more players drafted than football just recently. Probably. I only saw like 1 or 2 players for the Canes.
Yeah, I will say a couple guys didn't get signed from the Dolphins and
I saw that.
So shout out to those guys. Dominic Batelli. You also have Andrew Walters. I mean, just top to bottom, this team is so fun to watch. Yanni Morales. This is going to be such a cool guy for you to see. I hope he plays. Jacoby Long. This guy has the look of Aaron Judge. This guy is number 99. He looks like Aaron Judge, and he is pretty damn fat. And he's a freshman. I hope
he's a freshman. What's his height and weight? I need to know now.
He is 6. Is it this guy? It's 6'1". There's no way. I may be looking at the wrong guy.
So you're saying if he just pops on the
found him. Lorenzo Carrier, outfield, 6'5". He's a redshirt freshman, and he's 225 pounds. That guy is a unit.
If he were to put on some white Yankee pinstripes and then a cap, Yankee with no prim, he's Aaron Judge.
Probably. He looks a lot like him. Just the body type. He looks like Aaron Judge, and you'll see him. I hope he does play because I would love to see him play. That guy.
You are going to be at Coral Gables on Wednesday, right? Just locking it in. Yeah.
We're locking it on stream, baby. We're gonna be there.
Of course.
And
hey, I mean, if any of you are going to be at that game and want to say, hey, I mean, we're going to be there. So
yeah, we'll be there.
Anyway, after that Canes game, they take on Charlotte.
We'll be drinking our Mark Light shakes.
Oh yeah,
we'll be drinking the Mark Light shakes.
Really good. I had the J-Ro. I want to say something along those lines. No, you didn't have the
J-Ro. You had the Wizard or something, right?
The Wizard. You're right.
I had the J-Ro. I'm gonna switch it up this time around.
Okay. Yeah. Of course.
I think it's only right. I think right. You would say.
Yeah. I will say though, those shakes are good. Are they $11 good?
I had to pay for it the last time when I went. It was $10.
Oh yeah, because you were basically a fan for that game. Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Moving on, they're taking on Charlotte after that Canes game. Charlotte has a 23-21 record. They're 12-8 in the conference. Kind of a mixed bag as far as how good they've looked. They've had some games where they looked phenomenal and some other games where they have looked bad. They got swept by Western Kentucky not that long ago. However, they did sweep UAB a week before, and they're coming off a loss against Coastal. Or actually, they're coming off a win against ranked Coastal Carolina, number 7th in the nation. And Charlotte knocked them off in Conway, South Carolina. Oh, by the way, they're taking on FAU right now. So actually, they're taking on FAU this Friday. I should
something to mention about this team is, despite the record they have, just overall, look at their conference record. They're 12-8, so it shows their success in the conference.
Yeah,
they'll probably be making it into the tournament. So
yeah,
just to look at that, and
the good thing for FIU is that they're. For basically 7 straight games, actually 8 straight games, I should say, beginning with Western Kentucky, then Miami, then Charlotte, then Miami again, they don't have to get on a plane or get on a bus and go anywhere, right? Because they're at
bus,
home.
yes, bus, yes,
Bus to Coral Gables. That's like a 20-minute ride. Big deal.
Yeah, around there.
They don't have to go travel, so that's nice, and that's why I think that they can actually do well against the Charlotte. They can definitely take 2 or 3 from the 49ers. And again, this is optimistic Jake speaking instead of realistic Jake, right? Realistic Jake doesn't feel good about the Western Kentucky matchup or this based on the numbers, but baseball's a funny game like that, you know? So after Charlotte, they take on the Canes again, this time at FIU Baseball Stadium.
That's the final out-of-conference game of the year.
That's also the final home game of the year, too.
Well, yeah, final home game. That's
because after that, they play 3 games at Rice, and Rice is actually not having a great season. They're 17 and 26.
So kind of like FIU, basically.
Yeah, but they are at home. They're at Houston, okay? So they're 7-14 in the conference. They're 9 here's why I actually think FIU will do well. Rice is 9-14 at home, which is kind of crazy. Granted, FIU is only do I ever bring it up? FIU is 1-14 on the road. That's rough. Their only win on the road came against Dallas Baptist, but I guess they're the way it looks, they are going to get a second road win today against Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, it's basically odds against odds
in Daytona Beach. But yeah. It's been rough on the road for FIU. My Lord.
Yeah. Let's see how that game's looking up right now. 7-2, bottom of the 9th. Should be.
Okay, so it's looking good for the Cats.
Yeah,
the Panthers. I forgot Daytona's also the Cats.
Yeah, looking good. 3 more outs, and FIU will officially be better than last season, I guess is how we could say it. So
I mean, congratulations to Rich Witten for just like Mike McIntyre, wasting no time improving the team from the season beforehand.
Yeah, right? And Rich cool. Rich Witten, the coach, is great, but Rich Witten, the person, and how he's treated media this far, he's been great. Because I know you guys had your stuff with Merville, which I know is a great human, but
yeah, Merville was a cool dude. But he just didn't put up results, and he had I think 6 years to do so. Never really happened. Rich, Rich is already improving.
Okay? He's already improving, and I mean, he has.
And again, I love to bring up the comparison between him and Mike McIntyre. Mike McIntyre put up 4 wins in his first season, compared to the year before that. He was also lights out.
Lights out! Lights out!
I should have seen that coming.
Sometimes I've been finding different times in the podcast.
You just slip them in there, huh?
The beginning, the middle, and I've been doing like the latter end a couple of times. I just switch it up today. Okay.
All right. So do we have a news break or no?
We do not have a news break. It's been kind of a boring week, but we do have some teams we want to shout out because
I think this is the right time for a news break.
Okay,
just to talk about those teams.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, welcome.
It's like not to be that guy, or we aren't the most knowledgeable when it comes to I think tennis.
Yeah, we're trying to grow the brand, and you'll see after episode 20 the guests we bring on. We're gonna try to do all sorts of
we're gonna make the effort. We're gonna make
FIU athletics because again, God bless FIU. They're one of those colleges that have like pretty much every sport you can think of. Except for hockey.
Scott. I didn't even know they had a golf team. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No hockey.
I didn't know.
Just come on, give us the hockey team. All right, anyway,
college hockey is a thing.
Of course, college hockey is a thing. That's how most of the big time NHL players who are American. That's where they go.
Well, the
shout out to Quinnipiac. I think that's how you say it correctly. Knocking off Michigan in the championship game in the Frozen Four. Basically, all the northern colleges in the U.S. have hockey.
Oh, okay, well,
like all the big time north, actually not even big time. Some of the smaller college programs of the north, like Boston University, always has a great team. Quinnipiac, who just won the championship, has a great team, and those schools like Michigan and Ohio State, they have some really good hockey.
Those make more sense than FIU to have a hockey team.
I don't think there's any hockey team in Florida that has one. But I mean, you have not one, but you have not one, but two NHL teams in the state of Florida. Come on, you make it happen.
That's true. Yeah.
Shout out to the Florida Panthers who knocked off the Toronto Maple Leafs in the
that was a good game. That was fun.
After conquering the great almighty Boston Bruins, who had like the greatest season in hockey history, who blew a 3-1 lead to the Panthers.
That was crazy.
My God, that was insane.
Wild.
Matthew Tkachuk is a god. Brandon Montour and Carter Verhaeghe are gods, and Bobrovsky is back to his old self. So
yeah, man, that was wild.
If they can knock off Toronto next, I mean, my God, it's crazy. They beat the best team in hockey, and then immediately have to play the second best team in hockey. And so far, they look good in their first.
Yeah, but if I'm correct, the Maple Leafs really haven't made the playoffs in a while, right? Or they haven't moved on to the second round.
Yeah, like the Maple Leafs, this was their last. They played Tampa in the first round, and that was their first series win since like 2013 or something. So,
yeah.
I mean, it can only get better for Florida because if you recall last year, the Panthers knocked off the Capitals in the first round, their first series win since I think the freaking 90s, and then they got blown. They got their doors blown off by Tampa Bay. But anyway, this Panthers team has been fire. Anyway, we're moving on. I mean,
tennis.
We do cover the Panthers. Right?
Give a shout out to tennis.
Yeah, let's shout out tennis. There are two teams. There are two programs we want to give big shout outs to, and the first one is women's tennis. So they finished the regular season on a high note, knocking off FAU. Maybe baseball should take notes. But in the Conference USA tournament, they blew the brakes off of UTSA. They blew the brakes off of Louisiana Tech. And in the final, and in the championship game against Rice, guess what? They blew the brakes off of them as well. An absolutely dominant tournament run for this women's tennis team. They finished with an overall record of 18-4, 3-1 in the conference, perfect at home, 2-3 on the road. And they are going to be competing in the NCAA tournament live from Coral Gables. So they don't even have to travel far. They're taking on the University of Auburn in the first round. That is going to be this Friday at 10 a.m. They're taking on the 19th ranked Auburn University Tigers. And again, just a solid job for the tennis team. Tennis has always been a really great program for the last couple of years. They have had winning records and have had wins in the Conference USA tournament, but they could never just secure the championship. But this year they did. So super special for them as they take on a massive school in Auburn. But FIU is absolutely no joke when it comes to tennis. So again, shout out to the tennis team. If anyone from the tennis team is watching this, again, great job and good luck against the University of Auburn. Now let's move on to beach volleyball. That's the second team I want to congratulate here. Beach volleyball has, again, always been a really, really, really great program for FIU, and they are coming off a very solid Conference USA tournament run as well, knocking off Jacksonville State, Tulane, and UAB among a few teams. They are also competing in the NCAA tournament in Gulf Shores, I believe, Alabama, where they will be taking on the 4th-ranked Florida State Seminoles. So when beach volleyball is super cool. They sometimes play on campus. They sometimes play like right on Miami Beach, which is super sick. But they have some absolute high-quality wins against ranked opponents throughout the regular season, such as Stetson, FAU, Tulane, just to name a few, right? And their current record is 20-16. They were 2-1 in the conference, 4-4 at home, 4-4 on the road. Overall, 12-8 in neutral site games. So again, congrats to beach volleyball on a successful year, and we wish you the best of luck against the in-state Florida State Seminoles. That game is also this Friday at noon. So great job to both tennis and beach volleyball. Again, granted, we don't really talk about them that often, but this recent success is absolutely worth mentioning. So that was your different, but albeit very informative news break.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't have said it better.
By the way, shout out to softball real quick. They have a 21-26 record, I should say. They are coming off a series against Western Kentucky, which they only took a single game. They're actually in their final. They're going to begin their final regular season series against the University of Texas UTEP, the UTEP Miners in Texas. That's going to be this weekend, and then it's off to the Conference USA tournament for them as well. So,
FIU baseball's not making it, right?
We don't know. Conference USA baseball is weird.
Have they made it? Have they made it before?
They have made it. They have made it before. Sometimes like the rules change and they get in. That was during COVID, but they didn't make it last year. And I just want to double check for 2021. Did they make it that season? No, they did not.
Well, yeah, so probably not making it this year, unfortunately. But quick update with the game. Nightmares are starting to happen. FIU is leading, but now it is 7-3. No outs in the bottom of the ninth. They have allowed the first run to score, or third run to score in this case. Bethune-Cookman scored 2 in the seventh. So back in
Kevin, by the time we're done, and if FIU blows this game, I'm still gonna go to the Canes game on Wednesday, but I might.
We're going to the Canes game no matter what.
I might just have to rep the green and orange. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But Jesus, can they please just get a road win?
Well, moving on, basketball. It's been a while since we've spoken about basketball. I think last time was right at the end of the year where they lost in the conference play or the conference tournament. I'm sorry. So we kind of have some news with basketball. Jake, if you want to pull up my article, which I wrote today, just so I could reference that.
I am pulling it up right now. I'm gonna share the screen in just a second. But yeah, some really cool signings for basketball.
I don't think we spoke in depth too much on. I know we spoke about it with Adrian about Denver leaving, but just now that it's us two, we could kind of. I think make this a little bit longer than keeping it under the hour. But man, Denver Jones losing him, that sucks, Jake. I mean,
it sucked because Denver Jones was he was the face of the franchise at that point in time. Now the responsibility, I would think, falls to Arturo Dean, who was just entering his sophomore year, to be sort of the face of the team. But no, Denver Jones was absolutely sort of the rock on the offense, and he even played his part on the defense from time to time. But he averaged 20 points a game, right? That's absolutely insane for an FIU basketball team that hasn't really had an offensive leader to put up numbers like that in a very, very long time, right? And Jeremy Ballard, who signed that extension.
Congrats to him, by the way.
Yeah, congrats to him. But he wanted to promise that he wanted to build the team he had and improve the team he had moving forward because he knows the talent is there. And while I still think he can't do that because there are a lot of great players on this team, in my opinion, to lose your biggest player like that in an incident and somehow have to figure out how you're going to fix that, it's not easy. Okay.
Luckily, the transfer portal exists, and that's kind of where FIU basketball has been going with these new guys they've brought in. They brought in the 15th ranked JUCO prospect, and if you could share screen.
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, because I will tell you right now, I don't know how to say that first name.
Jake. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Okechukwu Okeke. That is a absolute white guy layman's terms way to pronounce
that. Was really bad. We'll just say Oki. I think it's Okiki. So we'll go and say Okiki signed with the Panthers as a transfer. He is the 6'9" sophomore JUCO. He averaged 8.9 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, and shot 65.4 from the field. I mean, this guy's going to bring you size. He is one of the top JUCO products in the country, as Johnny mentions in his tweet.
Yeah, shout out Johnny. Look at all the offers he had from some schools that are like Power 5, like some big schools.
Kansas State, Arizona State, Maryland, Memphis, Tulsa, Charlotte, and others. I mean, for this team to be able to land someone of his talent, he's going to be making a big impact. And look, and we'll say this right now. I mean, Nick Waterama, unfortunately, was not able to finish off the season, was injured. So luckily now, this is definitely someone who is going to be up to replace him. And if not, back up Mohamed Sonogo, which is the same case with the next guy we're going to talk about here, which is Jonathan Abar, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jonathan Abar. I think he's a transfer out of North Florida. He was
Yeah.
one of the better guys out there too. 8.3 points per game, 3.3 rebounds. Unfortunately, not many assists. He's definitely someone who's probably going to back up Sonogo. I think that's where his role lies more. And Okiki will probably be a starter. Obviously, when we talk about FIU basketball, we need to bring Johnny on soon. But to talk more about these guys, because he's locked in on these guys when it comes to basketball. So
shout out Johnny again.
Shout out Johnny. Yeah. And
but yeah, these are some good picks. By the way, in-state talent. Of course, Tallahassee Community College here, and Abar is from Kissimmee, which is not that far away, right?
Yeah.
So super cool that they're bringing in local talent, and in Okiki's JUCO talent, which is, as we know about JUCO. Some of the best JUCO schools in the country can provide absolutely insane talent. So to find a player like this, who he has the size, he has the statistics that I think can only improve in a team at FIU. It's a great pickup, and the same thing for Abar. But I got to say, Abar has big shoes to fill with Denver Jones, and I'm assuming some more players even before we get close to the fall semester. The roster is going to shake up again, but yeah. So
yeah, I mean, if you see with Guadarrama now gone, that's someone who stretched the floor immensely. You're not going to see that from Abar, which is why I really do feel like he'll be more in the backup role just to start off. Now, obviously, if this guy starts, killing it out there and he's playing well, you're going to obviously put him at that power forward spot and pair him up with Mohamed Sonogo and kind of have two power forwards there. So,
by the way, Abar's father used to
I saw that on the
FIU men's
release.
basketball team, and then in the late 90s. That's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at I was looking at the press release. He I saw that, and I thought that was something cool to add there. Now, when we look at this team right now, Jake, as constructed or as built, they still need a point. They still need that shooter. They need that Denver Jones type of player. And right now, Arturo Dean, I do think he has the possibility to do it. But with someone like Dean, who gets you those high amounts of assists, he's a defensive menace on the other side. I mean, you need that guy to stay like that. He is a disruptor that will get you a good amount of points and assists and really just move the ball around well, which is what I love about so much about Arturo Dean. I want to find that Denver Jones-esque player in that transfer portal, even if maybe it's on the roster right now. You never know. Corey Brewer had a good end to the year. Yeah. I mean, you have some good players right now on the roster that could live up to the Denver Jones hype, but I would really like to bring in a experienced transfer player that you could kind of say, this is the Keywan Jenkins of the basketball team. That's the hype I want to bring onto this team. Have that big star. And I think Arturo Dean could live up to that. I'm not saying he can't. And you could agree with me, Jake. I think you want Arturo Dean to stay in the current role he is in, where he is being a disruptor that's going to get you a lot of points.
I don't mean to interrupt you. It is 7-6.
Are you serious?
It is 7-6.
Are they going to blow this?
No.
Can you please share the screen and leave the thing as we talk?
Okay, yeah, sure.
No. Because
unfortunately, the Facebook broadcast for the game, it's audio only.
Yeah, they were having issues.
A video of it, but they have the scoreboard there, and it is 7-6, 1 out.
Please put the live stats thing on. We need not only for myself, but for the ones watching on Twitter.
Anyway, I didn't mean to.
No, I'm glad you interrupted me for that. How did
interrupt the flow of basketball? But
because even Gus is here texting us. I was like, "Whoa, Gus is texting us. Did they approve the credentials finally?" and and he's like, "No way, they're about to blow the lead to Bethune-Cookman." Oh my god! I mean, if they go to extras, you just hope the offense.
Kevin, would this be the low point? There's been a couple low points, but would this? Be
this would be the low point. Yeah.
Okay. Let me try to share my screen again, just to have that to our side, just so you all can see.
I didn't think 49 minutes in I didn't think we'd be 49 minutes into this podcast. Oh, okay. That's nice. And look, if you see right there, I mean, pause the podcast.
Yes, sir.
If you want, pull up maybe the live stats, the one that You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's what
Give
I
me,
was saying. Yeah.
give me. All right, let me stop sharing my screen real quick and pull that up.
I'll go and banter a little bit about FIU basketball as you talk about that.
Okay.
I mean, when you look at the team as constructed right now, I personally didn't think they had too much of a lack of big men. But when you really do start to look at it, I mean, besides what Seth Pinkley and Sanogo, you really don't have much. And you need power forward help with Guadarrama now gone, graduated basically. You just have to start thinking, what are you going to bring in? An A-Bar, no Kiki, definitely going to provide you perfectly at the game up.
Yeah. And again,
all right, man.
There was a lot of time.
Full count. Who's that bat? This is interesting. This guy, Halen Hall, he was the starting pitcher for today's game. He was pulling an Otani today.
He was pulling an Otani. Wow.
Yeah. All right.
I think you're going to see a lot more Otani-esque players.
That would be cool.
In this next decade of baseball.
There's a guy in
how revolutionary Otani has been. The pitcher / hitter player is going to blow up to Babe Ruth levels of excitement for a position player. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's a bit too early to really get a feel for how good 2 outs. Okay, 2 outs.
Finally, 2 outs.
As far as basketball goes, we'll try to focus more on that as the season begins, because then we're going to get a feel of what this final roster is going to look like. But all I'll say is this losing Denver Joes is bad, but I do like these 2 pickups, and I'm rooting for them and hoping that they can lead the team in both offense and defense. It's great to have some size, and it's great to have some speed, and I think FIU got both with these 2 players.
Completely off topic. I wanted to tell you. I don't know if you knew this. You probably do. Did you know Manny Machado was committed to FIU?
I did know that.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
Did you know Atlanta's put up 13 on Miami?
Huh?
Did you know the Braves have put 13 on the
Marlins? Don't even talk to me about that.
Okay.
Marcelo Zuna hit a grand slam.
I saw that, and it was like, oh.
Like the worst hitter. Moving on. Football. FIU football. I think we could wrap it up with them. And we'll 2 outs. Nice. All right. All right. So FIU football. So we had a flurry of moves. I don't know if you could share. No, you can't. We had a flurry of moves. I don't know if you want to share the article.
Let me go play by play here. Maybe that'll be a little bit.
Are you able to open a new tab and kind of go to the article we had pre-written, just to kind of go through? Actually, I have the moves with me right here on my phone. Okay. FIU football. Couple moves went down after spring, besides the departure of Lindell Hudson and Shamar Hobby Lee, the 2 starting offensive linemen, those guys. So Shamar Hobby Lee goes to Houston. And today, Lindell Hudson announces he is going to USF. I lied. USF.
Bulls, right?
The Bulls. He's going to be a Bull. So congrats to those guys who are going to new colleges. We wish them the best. The big loss was Demetrius Hill. Demetrius Hill, who was a freshman all-conference. He was part of the Football Writers all-conference team. He's gone. Very surprising. But at the same time, I mean, Jake, this guy had 3 years of eligibility left. He's one.
Wait, top of the 10th.
Did they win?
What?
They scored. Check the thing.
Okay. Yeah. Let me
check the play-by-play.
Yeah. Bethune.
I can't see it, Jake. Where is it?
I'm almost scared to pull it up now, but
do it.
Okay, give me just 1 second. But this is crazy. This is the craziest live coverage since me and Johnny witnessed the cycle that Marlins cycle a couple episodes back.
Oh yeah, didn't you guys leave it? You guys left it recording, right?
Let's not talk about that.
I'm gonna go watch that.
Give me just 1 second to.
Oh my god, I'm just gonna go on my phone to see if they won or not. This is giving me too much anxiety.
Okay, the game is over. FIU has won by a score. Okay, that's not by a score.
Oh yeah, we're done, dude. Look, it says final right there.
Yeah, but
all right, you can remove the screen now.
We'll go back to football. unnecessarily scary.
Yeah, what the hell? They pulled the Marlins. The Marlins were leading like 7-2 on Saturday. And the bullpen just gave up 4 runs all of a sudden.
I didn't watch that.
I know you didn't. All right, moving on. Demetrius Hill losing someone like him,
Yeah,
Jake, who was basically the heart and soul of your cornerback core. Because you lose Dorian Hall. I think he's a corner. Dorian Hall, just big loss there. So, just your thoughts on Demetrius Hill leaving. He had, I believe, 95 total tackles on the year. He had 2 passes deflected or 3 forced fumbles, 1 interception. I mean, this guy was bound to have another breakout season. But with 3 years of eligibility, you're basically looking to get the best offer you can and go to the best team possible. Because if Demetrius Hill keeps doing what he's doing, I mean.
Yeah, I think the loss of Demetrius Hill on defense is just as big, if not bigger, than losing players like Rivaldo Fairweather on offense. That's how much talent he brought to that part of the field. And I got to say, there were a lot of moments last year where FIU's secondary just got absolutely wasted time and time again with the mid-range, the long-range passes. But at the same time, pretty much every time a ball was thrown Hill's way, he had the best coverage out of regardless of any linebacker or any cornerback, pretty much anybody playing the backfield. He was the number one guy. And to see him dip out, and of course I understand why he's doing this. But at the same time, it's rough because we thought we had an idea of what FIU's defense would look like, but now it's FIU's defensive backfield has just taken a complete 180, and now all of a sudden it's next man up, which is crazy, to say the least. So we have seen a lot of talent from the corners in spring training, and granted, we didn't see anything in the spring showcase, but that would have been one of the big highlight areas that I would have liked to have seen was the quarterback versus defensive back battles. In the spring showcase, which is what I was really looking forward to, just to get a feel for both of them. But you still have some players who I think can be great, of course, like Jamal Potts and Adrian Cole. But Demetrius Hill, that it sucks. It kind of sucks.
It really does hurt. And just to mention, they did bring in a couple guys, and I'll mention those right now here. We're not going to go too deep into them. An article on that is dropping very soon. They have added Ladarian Polk, who is a cornerback. So basically just adding some depth to that group after Demetrius Hill left. Cole Smith, who is an offensive lineman. He's basically a center. He is 6'5", 330 pounds. He played for the College of Canyons in Santa Clara, California. And then you have Preston Hawkins, who is a D3 player. So it makes the jump from D3 all the way to D1. He is 6'6", 315 pounds. Those guys are definitely going to get some playing time, you would assume. So especially Cole Smith. And those are some good additions. And I just forgot there were some more transfers.
I will say,
I'll let you talk. Yeah,
as crazy as it seems to have a player jump from D3 to D1, that's not as crazy as you may think it is, right? I mean, there was this one wide receiver. I think his name was Tyrese Chambers. That was an absolute stud for FIU that has similar sort of backstory coming from JUCO all the way to FIU and having a great time. But we have had limited visibility on how these new recruits, how well their talents can be. And I think Grayson James, when we had him on the podcast, he said it the best. There's no substitution as far as seeing skill and talent. There's no substitution than an actual football game for seeing that. These practices and a spring showcase can only go so far. So by the time week 0 rolls around and we know who are the starters for both offense and defense, that's when judgment day is going to happen for these new recruits. So I'm going to keep my thoughts on the substitutes for Demetrius Hill short because
we're about to start running.
We just don't know enough at this moment. We wish him the best, and we hope that there can be a player that can have as big an impact on the backfield as Hill did. But it's not going to be easy. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, very quickly, the other transfers, not going to get into them at all much. Punter Nick Easters, tight end Cameron Williams.
Always use a good punter.
Lineman Jamari Sylvester, and cornerback Demetrius Hill. So those are the transfers at the moment.
That was
is
pretty much the only
also-
thing we did see at the spring showcase were the punters. Right?
Yeah. But they have their guy, and obviously they have Chase Gabriel,
Chase Gabriel,
Chase
who's pretty much
Gabriel,
the veteran of the team, and according to Grayson James, is the coolest guy on the roster. So
yeah, we'll be bringing him on very soon. We need to confirm that.
Yeah, we need to.
I think we're the judges of that, Jake. So
yeah,
we're reaching the hour mark. Anything else you want to add? Just looking coverage wise, I will be there on Friday and Saturday. I will be calling the game with Johnny on Mixler on Friday. Saturday, it is a Conference USA TV game, so listen to Johnny on Conference USA TV if you buy that. And then Sunday, I'm not sure.
By the way, shout out to Johnny. Not that long ago, he did his 100th broadcast for FIU on Mixler, which is absolutely insane. He's cracked at it, and congrats to Johnny. And I will say that while I didn't go to it, that Paws Up tour that the football team and Scott Carmichael
that looks
did,
so fun.
That looked like a lot of fun. And
do you think you'll make it out to one of those?
Orlando, no.
Well, Fort Lauderdale.
But Fort Lauderdale, that's within reach, right?
Yeah,
especially as because the Paws Up tour is like sort of taking a break, and then right before the fall semester begins, they're gonna get back into it actually, I take that back. The Funky Buddha in Fort Lauderdale, that's where they're going to be. It's on May 17th. Checking my schedule.
And it looked fun. It looked like truly like the first one. Obviously, I think the first one is going to be the best one just because you'll have all the coaches there because God knows who's going to be for the next one. But, I mean, that looks fun.
I would say definitely less people in Orlando, but at the same time, if you're in Orlando and you want to have a fun time, the Top Golf in Orlando, I've been to it. It is awesome, and I don't know if they're going to close it down or have a certain section reserved for FIU people.
And free food,
but
free food.
Yeah, the food there was good too. So yeah, if you're in Orlando or if you're in Fort Lauderdale and aren't doing anything those days, go to those events because it's super cool what you're able to do.
I think we got to make it to one of those, Jake. Maybe the
we have to.
The only thing that sucks, it's on a Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday's a weird day. Granted, the Canes game is on a Wednesday, and of course we're going to that. But
yeah, so coverage-wise for us, obviously we're going to be at the Hilltoppers FIU game at FIU Baseball Stadium. We're then going on our cars just a little bit further to Coral Gables to watch the Canes face FIU. And after that, we have Charlotte. So FIU is no longer going on a plane anymore anywhere else. We have Charlotte. Maybe we'll make one of those. I possibly will not be making all of them. Definitely will try to make one. Marlins are in town against the Reds, so you know where I'm going. And then finally, you have the Canes back at home. So Jake and I will be there for that Hurricanes game as well at FIU Baseball Stadium. That is the final home game of the year. You could probably bet that's the senior game too. Could be. So, and then finally Rice, and we're not flying to Houston.
No,
that'll be it for our
and again the Canes game, right? Big. Pretty much any time they play the Canes, whether it's in Coral Gables or at home, the FIU fans show up. And granted, so do the Canes fans, but FIU, very solid, solid record there. So, boy, we've hit the hour mark, Kevin. And and again, I mentioned this earlier in Newsbreak, but again, good luck to women's tennis and beach volleyball. One other thing I did want to mention, which is it's always cool to see these players highlighted. Carissa Kilby from the women's golf team was named All Conference USA First Team. And regardless of sport, if you're in the first team in your conference, that means you're damn good, and that means you're damn good, right? So, women's golf went 59 to 45. They have some long seasons in golf. They had a solid outing in the Conference USA Championships in mid-April, and the I believe they are going to be in the NCAA regionals in Palm Beach next week from the 8th to the 10th. So again, shout out to all these awesome schools, and of course, lest we forget swimming, who has been the absolute dominant program for FIU for a while. But yeah, Kevin mentioned it earlier. Episode 20 is going to be going to be an absolutely insane episode. I think we don't want to spoil too much, but it's going to be our first episode with 4 people. You, me, Johnny, and our special guest.
Yeah.
I
Only
don't want
thing
to
we'll
give out.
say
I don't want
is
to give out too many hints. I don't want people to come up with ideas to ring any bells. But yeah, let's.
we're talking some cool stuff.
We're talking some cool stuff with
It's gonna be real. It's actually gonna be
first
really
ever
cool.
professional athlete we've had on the show. Sorry, Billy Gill did not reach the pros as a track and field star. Sadly, he is a pro with the Dan Le Batard show. But yeah,
And did you see their new studio? That's cool.
Fire, absolutely,
It's amazing.
Fire.
It's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So I mean,
and something else that's cool that in that we've been working with the Lemon City crew. Are we talking merch, Kevin? Are we talking merch?
yeah. I mean, we're gonna get it first. See how it looks.
Okay. Well, when you
then
see us
see where that
sort
goes.
of repping the swag, but merch might be on the way.
Might. Yeah.
Might with a capital M. But
yeah, it looks pretty good. The chances
the
are
amount
good.
of followers and fans that we've seen these past couple, especially of course with the Grayson James episode, which blew up like dynamite. It's brought up the idea, which is super, super sick. And again, we can't thank you all enough for everybody watching this on our Twitter or the Lemon City Facebook and YouTube. And,
and just right now with Eric no longer here with us, not dead.
Shout out Eric. No, he's
not dead. He's gone. He's he's on his new journey, which he'll announce very soon. But you keep up with their site, keep up with the writing Jake and I do. I mainly do the FIU writing. We do the podcast. Jake, keep him up with the Panthers, Florida Panthers per se, and the Dolphins. But just keep up. I mean, we have a lot of content dropping this summer. And then season 2 starts. 2 episodes a week.
2 episodes a week. That's going to be insane.
That's going to be insane, but it's going to be
thematic
so fun.
weeks where it's just football. We bring in a bunch of football players for 1 week, and then like the ideas. We don't want to spoil anything, right? But
we don't want to spoil anything, but we're growing and growing and growing.
But we're going episode by episode, and again, episode 20 should be a fun one, and we'll all see you there.
And from Jake, myself, we'll see you guys in 1 week, or less than a week, 6 days.
Yeah,
see you guys there, and as always, Paws up.